Let's kick things off with the ultimate question, the one that's been driving digital creatives and professionals absolutely up the wall for decades. Can you run a fully licensed Adobe Creative Cloud on Linux natively? And I mean not a hacked version, not some buggy, decade-old release that barely limps along. The real deal. For years, the answer was just a hard, agonizing no. But things have dramatically changed.
Picture this. You're sitting at your desk, it's late at night, you're scrolling through Reddit, and suddenly you see it, the impossible screenshot. A fully licensed, totally current version of Adobe Photoshop CC running seamlessly inside GNOME right on a Fedora Linux desktop. No notorious lag from those older clunky workarounds. Honestly, it genuinely looks like it was photoshopped, but it is completely authentic. And it represents a massive paradigm shift.
For decades now, users have essentially been held hostage in this one-app situation, and the effort to fix it has a massive history. By October 2025, Steam Linux users crossed the 3% mark, mostly thanks to Valve's Proton layer, which is built right on top of Wine. And then Wine 11 shipped in January 2026. Now, Wine is absolutely fantastic for gaming, but it works by translating code in real time, so when it hits deep kernel-level calls required by modern professional software, like Adobe's super complex licensing checks, it still just crashes. And right now, the clock is totally ticking. Here's a number that puts it into perspective. 35 to 40%. That represents the hundreds of millions of Windows 10 PCs that were just left stranded without free security patches after the end of life in October 2025, all because of Microsoft's strict TPM 2.0 hardware requirements. We're talking about perfectly good computers practically forced into obsolescence, which is making everyday users desperate for an escape route. These aren't just your hardcore Linux enthusiasts, they are regular folks desperate for a way out. They're held back by just the need for one critical application, whether that's AutoCAD, SolidWorks, or maybe FL Studio. Which brings us to Section 2, the magic trick revealed. It all comes down to a 3-layer stack.
So how do we actually get that one app working without any major compromises? Well, it relies on an ecosystem built on 3 distinct working layers. Step 1 is virtualization, using KVM or Docker. Step 2 is the display protocol, utilizing FreeRDP or RemoteApp. And Step 3 is the integration glue, provided by software like WinApps. Let's unpack how these layers work together to pull this off.
First up, we have KVM, or Kernel-Based Virtual Machine. Now, this isn't your standard sluggish emulator. KVM is an entirely built-in Linux kernel feature that essentially hands a Windows installation its very own slice of real physical metal. Because it leverages your CPU's own virtualization extensions, the performance gap for heavy professional tasks is practically zero compared to running native Windows. It's incredibly fast. Next is the display layer. RemoteApp is this brilliant little capability baked right inside Microsoft's own remote desktop specification. Instead of loading the entire clunky Windows desktop environment, RemoteApp captures only the specific application window, totally strips away the background, and renders it directly onto your Linux display. FreeRDP, specifically version 3.24, composites that window right onto your Linux surface. It even makes the apps respond to Alt-Tab and sit on your taskbar exactly like native software. It literally scans your Windows installation via a network bridge, generates native Linux shortcuts complete with high-res icons, and automatically sets up MIM-type associations. That means you can right-click a PSD file in your Linux folder and it seamlessly pops open in your containerized Photoshop. Plus, your Linux home directory is mounted as a network share, making all your files instantly accessible. It's almost like magic.
WinApps is the most mature option out there, offering deep integration. But you do need some terminal knowledge. If you're a Linux newcomer, Winboat is incredibly welcoming. It's got a really nice graphical setup wizard. And then there's the newer kid on the block, WinPDX, which is fantastic because it actually injects Linux apps right into the Windows context menu and features real-time two-way clipboard sync.
But let's keep it grounded in Section 4, the friction and limits. Because obviously, no system is entirely perfect. We need to deliver an honest reality check here. Because knowing the exact friction points before you burn a Sunday afternoon on setup is absolutely crucial. You'll also need at least 32 gigabytes of disk space. Oh, and a crucial pro tip here, definitely disable the Start on Boot option. Only launch the container when that specific holdout application is actually needed, so you can save all that idle memory. Then there's the GPU and gaming limit. Currently, there is no default GPU pass-through. The virtual GPU entirely relies on software OpenGL. So while apps that lean on the CPU, like SolidWorks or Lightroom, run flawlessly, Heavy video rendering in Premiere Pro? Yeah, that's gonna lack. And gamers? Honestly, you should stick to Wine and Proton. Kernel-level anti-cheats like Vanguard will flat out refuse to run in this virtualized environment. No way around it.
Finally, we do have to mention some display quirks. Look, these tools are incredibly sophisticated and really well maintained by active open-source developers.
Section 5. The end of the excuse. The collision of that Windows 10 end of life and the incredible maturation of these containerized solutions in August 2026 has fundamentally changed the game. Think about it. In the past, Windows acted as a landlord, an ecosystem you were entirely forced to live in, paying rent via data telemetry, system ads, and those annoying forced reboots. Now, Windows is just a drawer. It's a handy tool you open in the background on demand for one specific task, and then you just close it when you're finished. You can live safely and freely in Linux for your daily tasks and treat Windows strictly as a background utility.
There's this profound, almost poetic irony to how this all came together. As this quote perfectly highlights, Microsoft spent 3 whole decades building a massive moat to trap professional software on their OS. Yet, the bridge across that moat is built right out of their own Windows ISO files and their own remote desktop protocol. The wall didn't fall. Open-source developers just realized they could build a bridge right over it using Microsoft's very own materials.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative question. What is the single Windows application that has kept you from making this switch? Seriously, drop your answer in the comments below. Because, as of right now, the last structural excuse for staying on Windows is officially gone. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I really hope this empowers you to finally break through that barrier.